you can proudly be reminded that her presence is going to be on every military base as it is transformed into an institution that protects our service members, men and women, who come to serve. They do not come to be assaulted and murdered by their colleagues. So God bless you. Thank you again for being here. Thank you all for joining us. We'll take a few questions. If you can stand the heat, yes.
Hi, did you know when is this bill gonna be brought to the floor? Do you have any timeline? And also, do you have the support of Democrats and Republicans, your other colleagues? How are you sensing that?
So I can tell you that the bill has now 73 co-sponsors, both Democrats and Republicans. We have a commitment from the Speaker of the House that the bill will come to the floor. If we can get 90 Republican members to join, in addition to those that have already been on the bill, we will be able to take it up under what's called a suspension rule. So that means it will come up even sooner. But before the end of this session, this is very remarkable to be able to introduce this bill today and have it taken up before the end of the session is just quite remarkable. So it will be either in the next few weeks or it will be in November.
Congressman Mullin, you mentioned systemic issues in the military, in the Department of Defense. From looking at the bill, it looks like the Department of the Defense will be naming this independent investigator. Is that right?
Yes, that's absolutely correct. But it takes it out of the chain of command. What the most important thing about this bill is that we take it out of them investigating themselves. We put special prosecutors that are trained in this, and they will report directly to the DepSec. So it's still inside DOD, but DOD has a history of prosecuting and their own ways, and so we don't want to remove that. We want to keep it inside there because this did happen while they're in the service and they're in uniform. But it moves it, as I said, away from them investigating themselves. It's the right way to do it. And I want to go back to about the about bringing it to the floor. The Speaker obviously controls the floor. She can bring it to the floor at any time. I really think when this thing comes to the floor, we're going to have overwhelming support of bipartisan support. It's going to be very difficult for anybody to vote against this. And even the president, when Vanessa's family got to meet with the president, he was very receptive. I was talking to her father yesterday, and he was just moved the idea that he got to meet with the president. And the president has voiced his support too. Of course, he hasn't seen the bill yet, but he is committed to helping Vanessa's family as much as they can. So this has great bipartisan support from President Trump to even Speaker Pelosi.
I was hoping you could clarify one other thing in the bill text.
Sure.
It looked like it says 2 years from enactment of this legislation, the independent investigations begin. Is that true?
That's correct.
Yes.
So you mentioned these thousands of cases each year. What happens between now and 2 years from now?
Well, in any piece of legislation, it takes a period of time for it to be staffed up. So that's going to be taking place during that course of time. The investigations are going to be independent, and so is the chief prosecutor, who will make a determination whether or not a court-martial should be pursued. Now, that doesn't prevent a commander from bringing a summary courts-martial if the independent chief prosecutor decides not to pursue the case. So it's just a process of standing it up. In the meantime, my hope is that the military is going to recognize that things are changing and take these cases much more seriously.
And the most important thing too is, Congresswoman Spear said, is it takes time. These prosecutors are going to be trained, and this is what they're going to do. So we want to make sure we have the best staff moving forward, because when we roll it out, we want to get it right, and that's so important.
Yes.
It's very rare to see Republicans and Democrats together these days.
It shouldn't be rare, but yes, it is rare.
Why do you think it's taken so long for something like this to really have momentum behind it, and why did it take something like Vanessa Elan's death for that?
It pains me to say it's taken 10 years, but when I first started working this issue, no one even knew about it, And there were excuses made within the military that, well, it's because of alcohol, it's because of provocative attire, and it was swept under the rug. So for the longest time, the military was successful at suggesting that somehow if you were challenging their chain of command, their ability to hold everyone accountable, that was somehow unpatriotic. What is unpatriotic is the fact that we have a dead young service member who didn't have faith in a system. And I think over the years, as we have focused on this issue, spent so much money on this issue, and recognized nothing has really changed, the fact that the military brass would come to the Armed Services Committee and say they have a zero tolerance for sexual assault and sexual harassment started to not ring true.
I'll add one thing to that. The policy's always been right. It's the timing. You've been on the Hill long enough. You know that we see some good policy out there, but the timing has to be moved. And unfortunately, it took Vanessa's death to make that timing right. All of us have families, and it became very personal to us. And so while the policy's been there, the timing wasn't correct until now, and this is the right time to strike with it.
All right, any other questions? Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you too.